was it for? And so, the fact that the big fact here, the fact that nobody wants to talk about, is the real-time risk engine of FTX should have meant that FTX had no hole in their balance sheet. There were two problems. Problem one is they accept as collateral instruments that are incredibly illiquid. The fact that one of them happens to be their own token, it makes it even worse from an optic point of view, but that's not really the point. The point is, if they accepted, I don't know, I'll pick something that died, cannabis coin. It doesn't really matter. If you pick a coin that has a day's average trading volume of 100,000 and allow someone pledge $1 billion of collateral with something that just doesn't trade, you're going to have exactly the same problem. Whoever issued it, it doesn't really matter. That's a big deal. And that's something that people should have known or appreciated. And that's something that no regulator in their right mind would ever let happen. So that's thing number one. Thing number two is, okay, despite that, why did FTX effectively go against everything Sam and his lieutenants have been saying for the last 2 years and socialize those losses? Why did they turn off the risk engine? So what if the people who had those positions had to be liquidated at a stupid price? So what? They would have, the exchange wouldn't have lost money. Someone who didn't have leverage and had Bitcoin on the exchange wouldn't be at risk. The risk happened because, we'll say, client A, whatever A happens to stand for, might have been wiped out completely if the liquidation engine was allowed to run. But that wouldn't have wiped out everybody else. And the insurance fund might have lost some money. But the reality is they let it run. The irony here, and this is really delicious irony, is that the argument in favor of FTX's proposal to CFTC is that a real-time risk engine is better. Why? Because it doesn't let a risk go out of control. 40 people in that room when they had that hearing a few months ago all said, yeah, but when it does that, it usually bounces back. And so we'd be liquidating people we didn't need to. Well, guess what? What did FTX do? Well, we don't know that this is what happened, but it certainly seems that what happened was collateral value dropped precipitously. They paused the engine, hoping it would snap back. It didn't, and boom, there you go. The fact of the matter is, if a DeFi exchange had the rule that said or DeFi platform had the rule that said they'll take FTT at full collateral without a haircut, and they wanted 140 or 150% over collateralization, when it falls 75%, that platform is toast. And people need to understand that when I call for rules, and I talk about, and I say, because I've been saying it, that we need principles-based regulation. One of them, well, there are two that are really important that I talked about this morning. One is wall off spot cash account holders from margin accounts so that they are senior in the credit stack and you don't have to worry about losing anything. The second is collateral that you accept in a multi-collateral institution needs to be haircutted. It needs to be applied with quantitative rules based on its volatility and, more importantly, its liquidity. And when you have regulators come in, they don't tend to do that. They just tend to say they set it. The CME sometimes changes margin requirements based on what it sees, and so that's a good thing. The truth of the matter is, if you're going to allow 1,000 different crypto assets to be used as collateral, there should be 1,000 different haircuts determined by formulas that are adjusting. That's the only way to do it. Otherwise, you need a smaller list of what could be collaterals, which is more like things like stable coins, or if you want to have Bitcoin, that's totally cool. That's actually worked, Bitcoin as collateral, very, very well without any socialized losses on derivative platforms for years now. Same with Ethereum. The problem here is there's no liquidity in these other instruments, and this particular one caused it. And I think it's really important for people to understand that principles-based rules, not regulators stating what the collateral is what's required here. But there is a reason why derivative exchanges